there, my name is Felsen Kirkenmouse III. I can tell you all about the history of Saints Peter and Paul and the very special young priest, Father John Newman, who founded the parish and the school. John Newman came here from a faraway country to serve the new citizens of the United States. My granddad knew him personally. Yes, I know, you're wondering about my name. Seems a bit unusual for a little church mouse. We'll get to that. It's all part of the story. John Newman was born on March 28, 1811, in a European country called Bohemia. Now it is known as the Czech Republic. He lived with his parents and 5 siblings in the small mountain town of Praxedis. As a young child, he loved books and was an exceptional student. His parents recognized his dedication and ability, so they furthered his education at the University of Prague. After graduation, Newman considered studying medicine, but ultimately chose to enter the seminary. There, he learned about the need for priests to serve all the settlers in America. Missionary work became his life's devotion. Venturing to America made it necessary for him to add English to his already impressive list of languages: German, Czech, French, Spanish, Italian, and Hebrew, as well as Latin and Greek. John Newman came to the United States when he was 25 years old, traveling on a very large ship named the SS Europa. His voyage across the Atlantic Ocean was a long and tiring 40 days. At one point, the ship came within sight of icebergs off the shore of Newfoundland. Newman was chilled by the thought of what might happen if the ship should crash into one of them. Thankfully, he arrived safely in the port of New York on May 28, 1836. Newman was ordained by Bishop Dubois of New York City on June 25, 1836. The very next day, Father Newman celebrated his first Mass, and 2 days later he was headed off to his first official assignment in the Niagara region of New York State. It was considered to be a remote area, a frontier land, where European immigrants from Germany and Ireland settled, following the opening of the Erie Canal. Father Newman started his journey to the Niagara region by sailing up the Hudson River to Albany on a steamer. He then headed west, traveling on the Erie Canal, stopping over in Rochester. Soon after, he continued on to the city of Buffalo, arriving on July 12, 1836. The newly ordained priest chose to minister to the mostly German immigrants in the rural area centered around Williamsville, outside of the city of Buffalo. There were about 40 Catholic families scattered throughout the countryside of his first parish. It would not be an easy assignment, but Father Newman was young, faithful, and determined. He wrote, "I'll take the woods. I like walking. I'll go from place to place, carrying my gear with me." His parish covered the territory north to the shores of Lake Ontario, east to Batavia, and as far south as the Pennsylvania border. Father Newman arrived while the Church of Saints Peter and Paul was being built on a small plot of land at the northwest corner of Main Street and Grove. There was no official residence for the new pastor, so a very generous member of the community offered a room in his home to Father Newman. It was located on Main Street above a tavern near the new church. When Father Newman said his first Mass at Saints Peter and Paul, the church structure only consisted of 4 stone walls. There was no floor, there was no roof. It has been said that in the current church, the vaulted ceiling above the altar was painted to resemble the starry-filled night sky, recalling the early days of Mass in the church during the time of construction. From his home base at Saints Peter and Paul, Father Newman made frequent journeys on foot to visit the settlers on their farms. With his backpack and a trusty walking stick, Father Newman trudged along the rugged trails and roadways to serve Catholics throughout the region. Father Newman had his share of adventure on his mission travels. At times it was downright scary. One day, Father Newman was so exhausted on a journey back from Niagara Falls that he stopped to rest. He dozed off, only to be awoken by the sound of stranger voices rustling in the nearby bush. Father Newman was frightened. He did not know what to expect. There, before him, was a small group of Native American Indians, members of the Tuscarora tribe. For a very brief moment, Father Newman feared for his life, but the Indians recognized him as a Black Robe who had recently visited their people. They respectfully carried him on a blanket to the safety of the nearest homestead. It was suggested that Father Newman use a horse for traveling to his mission sites because they were hours away by foot. However, this new travel plan was not so simple. Father Newman was really quite short for a grown man. At only 5'3", he did not take easily to riding. It was a constant struggle for him to reach the stirrups because his legs were so short. The young priest and the horse did not always see eye to eye, and this only added to the dilemma. Father Newman was thrown from the horse more often than he could count. Once, the small priest ended up in a swampy pond surrounded by noisy croaking bullfrogs and a truly magnificent giant bird called a great blue heron. Although ending up in the swamp was clearly not his plan, Father Newman was able to see the positive side because of his keen interest in all of the different plants and creatures of this new land. Eventually, Father Newman and the horse came to an agreement. It was actually a very sweet agreement. You see, one day, Father Newman had an idea. He gave that horse a few bits of his candy, and from that day forward, the horse was very cooperative. Father Newman may have gotten frustrated, but he never lost faith. He never gave up. My granddad named that old mare Miss Percy because Father Newman persevered despite the struggles. Every day, Father Newman prayed to God for strength and for guidance, and he was always able to find his way. The answer to that difficult horse was right there in his pocket. The rock candy also came in handy when Father Newman was teaching the children songs for Mass. He would encourage students who complained of sore throats to return to singing with a nugget of the soothing sweet treat. Father Newman always seemed to have an endless supply of this favorite European candy. My granddad enjoyed that rock candy just as much as old Miss Percy and the children. He had quite a sweet tooth. As a matter of fact, that's where my name comes from. Father Newman liked to call Granddad Felsen, which is rock in German, because of his love for the rock candy. And since he lived in the church, my granddad decided to add Kirchenmaus to his name, which translated is church mouse. Granddad was very proud of his official name, and I am very proud to be Felsen Kirchenmaus III. Enough about me and my family history. Let's get back to Father Newman. Up until the time of his arrival, the local children attended loosely organized classes in a borrowed space. Father Newman recognized that there was a great need for regular instruction in religion, the arts, and science. He also knew that an organized school venture would be an additional expense for the families, but he forged ahead in spite of some disagreement in the community. Taking on the responsibility of teacher, Father Newman founded St. Peter and Paul School in Williamsville. The young priest often paid school debt out of his own small personal budget. Father Newman was a gifted teacher who knew that the academic and spiritual needs of the children were very important. St. Peter and Paul School may have been the very first school founded by Father Newman, but it certainly was not the last. Over a short period of 4 years, Father Newman was instrumental in establishing many parishes and Catholic schools in the western New York area, including St. John the Baptist in Kenmore, St. Mary's of Swarmsville, Good Shepherd in Pendleton, St. Mary of the Cataract in Niagara Falls, and St. Mary of the Assumption in Lancaster. After leaving western New York in 1840, Father Newman went on to become the Bishop of Philadelphia, where he established the very first diocesan school system in the United States. By November 1853, he wrote to his aging father, "Much has been done for the schools. The number of children in them has increased from 500 to 5,000, and before another year has passed, I hope to have 10,000 children in our schools here." Catholic education is truly at the heart of St. John Newman's legacy. The sturdy Bohemian mountain boy, as he often described himself, now bishop, collapsed and died unexpectedly on the streets of Philadelphia on January 5, 1860. Father Newman was only 48 years old. In his brief lifetime, he was able to accomplish so much for all American Catholics. He built hundreds of parishes, all the while addressing the needs of various immigrant populations. His work included both churches and schools, overseeing every aspect. He managed construction projects, fundraising, and other financial concerns willingly. He also ensured that all the schools were staffed with competent teachers. Now, the church building of Saints Peter and Paul is not a grand cathedral or an example of the latest modern architecture. It is a beautifully simple stone structure which represents our faith community, solid in its foundation. In this way, our faith community remains true to the legacy of our first pastor and teacher, who is often called the Saint of the Common Man. From his humble beginnings as a missions priest, then pastor and bishop, Father Newman, through his life and deeds, is now Saint John Newman. He was canonized in 1977, the first United States bishop to be made a saint. Over the last 185 years, we have seen many things change. Transportation has evolved from horseback to trains, then planes and automobiles. We once communicated by sending written letters or telegrams. Now, we can communicate by phone and by sending texts and emails. So much change, and yet Saints Peter and Paul essentially remains the same. As I watch families coming and going each day, I remember how we have been blessed by St. John Newman. He brought us all together many, many years ago, and today we still gather in the parish and school that he founded. We are so very proud to be a part of his legacy as we celebrate the Mass in his church and learn in his classrooms. Saints Peter and Paul has been an important part of our community for nearly 2 centuries and will continue to be for generations to come. Thank you, St. John Newman, for creating a special place that we can call home.